Hello, this is Victor at RestoringMercedes.com. This video is for Eric in California, and I guess this is gonna be a final video. It's to recoup what was done to the car and some other areas that would need some attention in the future, and something that I see sort of like to sum everything up. So we'll start from the front of the car, so we'll just keep going keep going toward the back, what was going on. So here up front, the shroud, I put a little piece of metal, the extent, just to hold it together. It was cracked over here. The idler pulley was replaced because it was squealing, it was bad. So that was done. Toward the front here, there is a suspension valve over there that was leaking hydraulic fluid. O-rings were replaced, and the fluid I put in, like, I think 3 cans, because most of the fluid leaked out anyway when I opened up lines, and I also when I replaced accumulators. All 4 accumulators are brand new. Okay. Now the evaporator, these are evaporator valves. Now they click. You can hear them. You can feel them. This one was stuck, so I freed it up. It was also oriented wrongly. It's proper orientation now. When it says MOT with the arrow, that's supposed to go to the engine. It says motor. MOT means motor. It goes to the engine, so that when I flipped around, so it's fine. Mass airflow sensor wiring harness is replaced all the way to computers. And throttle bodies I did before. You sent it to me before, so I rebuilt them beforehand, like before you send the car over, so that we know. Brake booster vacuum supply line was replaced because of the leak, vacuum leak there. On this side, same thing, mass airflow sensor, replaced the boot. Okay, this one is nice and soft. The new, it's a used boot, but it was replaced recently, so it was a nice, very nice condition boot. It's almost new, pretty much. The in here lower harness was repaired on the vehicle. I did it. Looks very factory. So that is done. There is a small vacuum distribution valve here for HVAC and engine vacuum. So that was sealed off. I put a little silicone on the bottom because it was cracked, and I sealed it up for now, so it's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine. It's like, that's what I usually do. I don't even replace them. Put silicone on them and they're fine. So that is all, I believe, for the front here. And I think that's all. Suspension accumulators, like I said, I replaced. Suspension rod for the front height valve was replaced. Power door lock. It was a strange scenario here where when the car would start, you start the car, then the doors would lock sometimes. Most of the time it would only be a trunk and fuel filler cap that would lock. So the problem was inside the door lock pump itself. There's a distribution valve inside that was actually messed up. I didn't bother repairing it because there is really no point in that. I'll explain you later once we're in the vehicle to tell you what is it for. But now the car is not locking, so that's perfect. I had a very strange scenario here with this tire. It went flat completely yesterday, the day before yesterday actually. I inflated it. I did see it going low, but yesterday the day before yesterday went completely flat. I removed it, I looked it all up, no holes, perfect tire, nothing, perfectly fine. I sprayed it with soapy water, no leaks, and today it sits fine. Well, it's a little low, but my thinking is it's the bead. You have to reseal the bead. That will require breaking the bead with the machine and then put a little bit of a sealant. Tire shops have these sealants that go over beads to seal the bead. It could also be the nipple because of oxidation on chrome here. So there might be a little oxidation between the nipples somewhere, and that's where it starts leaking from time to time. Something to take a look at, but there are no holes, there are no nails or anything like that. Tire has perfect thread and everything. Very nice. So that is that. engine mounts, before actually I go inside the car. Engine mounts. Yes, engine mounts are low, but it's still gonna last for some time, but they will have to be done. There is a little bit of a sort of a thumping when you take off and go in reverse and turn the wheels sometimes. So there's something with suspension. My suspicion is it's either the idler arm. There's a little idler arm. It's like a bushing set. That could be loose. Nothing critical, but still. Just want to bring these to your attention just so you know what to look after next. Idler arm, it could be steering damper. It's a replaceable part. It's expendable, really. It's a steering shock, and sometimes that thing, well, most of the time they don't last like, you know, forever. It's a shock. So like engine mount, shocks, belts, I mean, these are all expendables. So that is something to look into, but that has to be done on the lift. So when you put it on the lift, then you'll see better what's happening there. But again, it's not super critical because you go over bumps, nothing is making noises, suspension is pretty good. So I wouldn't say that's something critical like ball joint or tie rod or something. I mean, there are no noises, it's nothing. It's just that when you, in certain conditions, it happens. I would not say that it's something drastic, something very simple. But that's to be looked at when the car is on the lift. Let me go inside the car. Also, the engine runs perfect. I mean, the way I test is I just basically open the door and I look at the door glass or the door itself. I touch it, and usually if the engine is vibrating, then you know you got the whole thing is just shaking, like, because now you have a lever, so the shaking is accelerated. It's like it's increased, okay, because you're at the arm. It's like trying to lift the like a chair on its leg with your arm extended. I mean, it's just, you can't. Well, I mean, I can't, some people can, but if you look, the glass is stationary, it's perfect. So there is very minimal vibration. The engine runs perfect. Okay, now inside the car, put the heat on. I mean, it's cold. Air conditioner works, everything's fine. The shifter bushings were replaced because they were loose. That's done. The valve that I shut off in the central locking pump, put the heated seats on too, is the valve that works this button called rest. This is residual engine heat. It's really like, right now, if you were to press the rest button, it will still work. It's just that the heat will come out from windshield here, whereas that originally it was intended that the heat would come out from center vents. So it's not super principled, but it's better off than shutting it down and just not to have this feature working exactly right. You still have it working through the windshield, but not through front vents. It's better off than you would just like start the car, you forget the key, and the car locks itself. It's not good. So we'll do that later. I mean, just forget it. I shut them all down. I mean, if the pump works without it, let it be. Better off. The radio situation. There was a replacement radio in this car at some point. I see splices on wires when I pull the radio out. The display is messed up. The radio works now. I got the code from my code generator. So it does work. CD changer works. The radio itself is bad. The capacitors are bad. Amplifier is good. CD changer is good. Radio is no good. And that speaker is no good. The bottom one. The one on top is good, the bottom one is not. So that is to be dealt with. If you wish to, you can replace the speaker only. I would recommend doing that. And I probably would just recommend putting aftermarket radio in here. Unless you want to keep it original, then just get a used radio or something. This one is, if display would have been okay, I would rebuild it. But if the display is bad, then I have to change display, and it's like, I don't know if it's worth it. I mean, if you would want to do it, fine, I'll do it. Let me know. You can mail me the radio, I'll do it. Or I can find another one and rebuild it and send it over. Do not use these buttons, please. These are very fragile, and after all these years, they tend to break. So just leave them, let them be. Everything works, and see, I close the door, the lights come on. Do not touch them, I'm just saying. This panel right here, this piece right here, used, is like $1,000 in good condition. So you do not, I kid you not, you can Google it. So therefore, do not touch these buttons. Let them sit the way they sit. Mirrors obviously is electric, so obviously you have to change the setting on the mirror with this button. So you do not want to ever try to move mirror with your hand, okay? Only with the button, because it's also a fragile piece. You can just turn it and it'll break right off. No good. Don't do it. Sun visors too. These are known to break off. That's kind of like the thing with these cars. It's just they all break. So don't use those. Okay, and I think that would be all. The last thing that I was leaving to make the video about is probably gonna have to make a second addition to this video. Yeah, I probably will make a second addition to this video when I get my program right and everything. And yeah, be right back. Okay, here we are. We're back here with the last part. Now, the hose on the in between the intake, in between the engine rather, under the intake manifold, in between the V of the engine, the V, it's like shaped down deep. There is a pipe for the positive crankshaft ventilation system. It's cracked, it's leaking. I'm sorry for my voice. I mean, I'm freezing over here. It's really cold. So it's leaking. So we have a slight vacuum leak still remaining. I took care of that leak. I took care of the valve, and nothing else is leaking. This was ripped. I took care of that. Everything else is fine except for that. So to change the pipe, you don't just change the pipe. You do lots of other things. It's a whole involved job. It's just a lot of work, and you can see some of my other videos about the red car. I did this job, but it's a lot. There's like 4 parts to that video just to that job. You don't want to, you know, if you want to do it, fine, but that's a lot. That's expensive, but it's not drastic yet. Now, let me explain what's happening here. So as you remember, we had no readings here. We had LH2 completely off. Readings were completely off. Right now we do get readings around 50. That's perfect. LH1 primary bank. This one is a little bit on the richer side, right? So it's like it's hitting 60 and sort of 60, but this is okay. It's gonna work. The thing is, if you have very little vacuum leak, electronics, they take care of it. They adjust, they adapt. Okay, so they adapt, and we have about what, 20% more, but again, we can go from 90% to 10%. That's basically the range. So we're just a little bit over, which is fine. Now the bad thing is that I tried to run adaptations on this, and it cannot lock into readings for the adaptations, because for the adaptations, this value is supposed to drop below 50, so it can accept adaptations. I hoped it would just go there, but it isn't. It still hovers around 50. It's just a slightly bit on the rich side. Nothing's gonna happen to the engine. Everything's gonna be fine. It'll run, and you know, it's gonna be fine. Emissions are gonna be fine because, again, electronics, they took care of it. This is just so you know what's happening here, okay? So you know what's going on. And I will try once more, because see, LH2, for example, this did lock into adaptations. They were pretty high, but this just because this one is going from 50, over 50, below 50, above 50, below 50. That's what we want it to be. And yeah, most importantly, oxygen sensor readout. The readout is fluctuating perfectly, very huge range. That's awesome. Before, it would just sit at the lean position, so that's it. So, but here with just a little bit and not enough. So I'll try to run adaptations. I tried it before, but you see, it's like right there. You see, it's just like right now, if I ran it, it would took in the reading and it would just sit there, but really extremely close to pretty much mostly ideal readout. So I'll try one more time. Maybe I'll just get this engine to be super hot, and then I'll try it once more maybe. But again, it's not critical, because you see it drops to 51, it even went below 50, so we're okay. I mean, I'm totally fine with it. To do all this work, like I said, you do lots of other things with it, so you want to check, you want to do other things, not just that pipe. And that's like, you know, it's not $100, you know, that's like the parts alone at like $700-800 just for parts. Sometimes even more, it depends how deep we go. But again, see, it just hits 51, but there is still enough adaptations, there is still enough electronics that yeah, there it goes, you see 49. So it's there, it's almost there, okay? But again, even if we don't have it, it's fine, it'll run just fine, okay? I was kind of uneasy about it, but I was more uneasy about the situation where we had LH2 not reading completely. Now it reads, because LH2, if you remember, it would sit at 90 and the oxygen sensor voltage would be low, like below 100 millivolts. That's bad. And now we do have very healthy readout from LH2. So that would be all. I guess these are all my findings, and that's basically what we have to leave it, because it's a never-ending thing. This is a classic car here, so we always will have, there will always be something, you know, there will always be something, and there's no way around it. Put the heater on because it's actually pretty cold. Like I said, I'll try to run adaptations once more, see what happens. But the emergency brake is on because I'm on a down, like, you know, I'm on down slope, so, and yeah, so everything is fine. Fan clutch works. You know what, I'll try to run adaptations with AC compressor on, because it's gonna change the load, and maybe, just maybe, I'll get this thing to drop below 50. You see, it drops below 50 with AC compressor on. It's not most proper kind of way to run adaptations, but I'll try. At least I'll try. If it happens, see, it goes below 40 because AC compressor is kicking. So we have idle increase. It's a little different kind of way the engine runs, because you have extra load on the engine. So for that reason, the AC compressor just kicked in, and our reading, yep, just about. Well, anyway, so this is annoying to look at, so let's just cut it quits, and yeah, the car is gonna be good to go. I've risen the front just a little bit, but the way it is that because the car is sloping down, there's more stress on the front, so the front goes down lower a little bit than the rear. If the car is parked the other way, the front is higher than the rear, because front and rear suspension, it's connected via that distribution valve, so the fluid always travels and it sort of like equals itself out. So, and that's what happens. If you want to raise this higher, which I don't really recommend, because it's a factory setting, I would leave it at factory setting. The rod itself can be extended more. If you extend the rod, it'll bring suspension up. If you lessen the length of the rod, it will drop suspension down. So that is that. Oh, it feels so good over here. It's warm. My arms are like, as you can see, we're getting snow again tomorrow. This is ridiculous. I mean, you know, it's, you can see it's like we get like skies, kind of stormy skies. So it's crazy. Anyway, this is going to be all for me, and the car is here. Everything's fine with it. And the antenna situation, I looked into the antenna. It's a German main Hirschmann, but it's not from this model. It's sort of universal one, so therefore it sits a little lower, but it seals well, so I didn't want to bother with it. I left it alone. Brakes are good, tires are good. Yeah, I think all lights work, all functions work, windows work, mirrors work. Roof, I didn't try. I left the roof alone. Roll bar goes up and down. The hydraulic fluid for the roof container, the actual reservoir is full, because I had to, I looked it up because I had to work in the back to replace an accumulators. They're unbolted from, they're removed from the trunk, okay, so they're installed in the trunk, so therefore I had to take the covers off to get to them. So I looked it up and it's fine. You might want to maybe change all of these fuses for the copper fuses. They're aluminum, so it was a good idea to replace them with copper fuses. You know, I would do that. But they're working now. There is no oxidation there, so that's perfectly fine. The engine is really nice, clean. You know, look at that beautiful engine. So just keep changing oil on time. It'll remain like that, nice and shiny. Okay, so I'm not gonna close the hood because I'll drive it. Anyway, so that's it. This is all. This is Victor. I know I talk too much, but the car goes far, and I wanted to take care of all of these little things I see. Again, Victor here, restoringmercedes.com. Thank you for watching.